Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Boro Fan TV and the Monday Night Show. 24 hours later than usual, but that was because we were waiting for our tin hats to arrive after the last couple of Boro performances. As you can see tonight, I've got Guesty with me, but we've also got the Boro legend again, Gary Hamilton, on the show. Welcome aboard, lads. Are you all right?
Evening, James. Evening, Gary.
Evening, gentlemen. Hope everybody's well.
Good stuff.
All
stuff.
good.
Safe to say, it's not been a vintage week for Boro fans. Our survival hopes have took the double hit of defeat at Hull City and at home to QPR at the weekend. So Boro fans, I know you'll join the debate tonight. There's lots to talk about. Can we beat the drop? What's needed in the final 5 games? Does Neil Warnock have an impossible task on his hands? So I'll come to you first, Gary. Talking about managers, I think you played under 3 different full-time managers while you were at the Boro. Do players respond to the change in managers? Does it have much of an influence on the players in the dressing room?
I think back in our day, I think we spoke about this the last time, with not great numbers in the squads. I think a manager, when they stepped in, had to do what they had to do with what they had. So I think it's a big difference this day and age. I think they all sit with bigger squads. I do hope and pray that players in today's day kind of still shit themselves when a new manager comes in, because they should, because everybody goes back on an even keel and everybody has to start from scratch. And that's what I was hoping with Neil's appointment. I thought it was going to be a big kind of change in direction. I thought it was an exciting move because the guy's pedigree of being in these situations speaks for itself. And I think it's, I hope not, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed here, but I'm hoping he can still maybe wave a magic wand and get as much out as he can from the squad that he has. I think we've all been reading in the press and in Twitter and social media about how the fans feel, and I'm totally with them on how they feel. I don't think anybody needs blaming. I don't think Neil can really take any blame here. Personally, my own feeling is it's totally on the players' shoulders. The players have to take full responsibility. They really do. And if they're not prepared to do that, then like he did with Gasted, then maybe, and I know the time's not right now, but maybe some of them have got to move on as quickly as possible, because we don't really need them that. I think the people who know what the town's all about, they just want people to roll their sleeves up and battle, especially in this situation, because it's not a good situation at all, guys. No. It's really not.
Yeah, spot on, Gary. Love your honesty. Guesty, after the Stoke game, Neil Warnock's first game in charge, we won that, and I don't think anybody envisaged not picking up any points at all from the Hull and QPR game. And like Gary's referred to there, doesn't matter who the manager is. If the players aren't performing, you could have Pep Guardiola in charge at the minute. The players have to pull the fingers out, don't they, Tony?
Yeah, Warnock highlighted when he first come that there was no leaders in the dressing room, and like you're saying, Gary's time, there was leaders all over the pitch, and at this moment in time, there doesn't seem to be one player out there with a red shirt on who's getting anyone by the scruff of the neck, trying to G people up. They all look as bewildered and dismayed as what we are as fans, and it's painful to watch. And as a fan, Gary's an ex-pro, but as a fan, you're looking at 11 players who are not giving their all for the Boro. I know that it might come across that to the management and the training staff, but as fans, the way, on that screen, it's looking like there's 11 players out there don't give a toss about whether they stay up or go down.
Yeah.
And that's the frustrating part.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point, Tony. I was just going to ask Gary here, and Jake Lowe's referred to it here. He's saying that there's nothing that can be done. Unfortunately, the players haven't got the mentality to fight for the club and the badge. And that's exactly what's wrong with football players. They aren't in it for the football anymore, just the wage. And Neil Warnock last week, Gary, came out and said he was surprised that there's no leaders in that changing room. I can't imagine that was an issue when you were playing, Gary.
I think the big question to that situation would be why. Why is there not a leader? And all as I've read is since Grant's left, that's the last leader. That's a problem. That's a massive issue. We should have filled that spot a while ago then. We've had a 3-month layoff. We all know, and I know he's at the brunt of everything right now, is Steve, and that personally I don't think he should be, because the guy's always putting his hand in his pocket and stuff. But if that was an issue and a problem, Jonathan should have picked up on it. I mean, Jonathan I know well. He's a great young man. It's a shame, because I think he'd get thrown to the lions really as well. But you can't be people's friends. You can't. It's a business. It means too much to the town. And if it was just going out and finding a leader, somebody who's prepared to kick a lot of people in the ass around the dressing room, they're actually easy to find in a football player, to be honest.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we could have gone down to the lower divisions, go to the non-league football. You find a few of them in there, so you would, and that want to play for the town. And I know it might sound crazy what I'm saying, but I couldn't believe it when that was his first big dilemma, was the lack of leadership within the club. And I was shocked at that, because personally I thought there was some there, and obviously there's not. So I mean, sometimes you're looking through the glass mirror and you're seeing different things to what's actually really there. And that's a shame, because as a professional athlete, every single one of them should know, even if you're not a screamer and a shouter, you can roll your sleeves up. And I think the biggest word for the 5 games is fight. And if they're not prepared to do that, then it's the sad thing. It's inevitable what may happen.
Yeah.
Well, after watching the QPR game, Gary, do you think there's any fight in them? The way they performed on Sunday? Or
it seems that the big word fight's coming out all the time, and the players don't give a rat's butt and arse, and they're not trying and stuff. I would probably dare to say that. I mean, that would be the worst thing ever, to be a professional athlete and be associated with that. I think that would hurt anybody if they were in that world. So I try and stay away from that. There's a definite massive lack of confidence, and the deal that I'm looking at here is probably the last place they want to play right now as well, as the Riverside. I mean, but the good thing is there's no fans anyway. So, but if they were having to play at home with a crowd behind them, I mean, I don't know. I actually thought the no crowd thing might help us in a way, because I think I think it equals it out for everybody. But watching the games, it's tough to watch. I think they're lacking in confidence, and that I think can spiral across as they look like they don't give a crap. I would hate to say that if people were picking up what they're picking up on a weekly basis and not caring. I find that hard to believe, because at the end of the day, they've got to. I mean, if they're not going to stay here, they're still going to move on somewhere else. So they're still trying to prove some kind of a point. I mean, no other manager is going to pick somebody up that doesn't care.
Yeah,
I believe there's not one man in that dressing room wants to become a first division footballer. You know what I mean, Gary? Not one of them personally will want to go down, but.
Well, the last time it happened, guys, it happened because of different reasons. Now, I mean, it was a whole financial thing. We're not in that situation anymore. We've got a guy behind us that's prepared to put his hand in as deep as it goes to help us. So that's not the problem. I do think there's been some bad decisions made across the last maybe 5-7 years and stuff like that. But again, they don't want, I'm telling you, people are on about, I'm reading all these things that will go down and we'll smash Division 1 and stuff like that. Just look at Sunderland. I mean, I'm actually watching Sunderland do a die right now. Yeah. And my God, that show's scaring the hell out of me right now, because I think they're looking right down the barrel of it. And let's be honest, 1986 was a total different era, total different situation, total different group of players. Maybe the stars were aligned as well for about 3 years and all that kind of stuff. But we do not want to be going down there and thinking that we're just going to bounce back straight away, because that's a tough league.
Yeah. I mean, Gary, do you think there's a possibility that modern game, or just the way of life now, you've alluded to how it's different between now and 86, do you think it's now a case of that the players don't take responsibility as a group, that they just maybe think about themselves and just like what I've got to do rather than doing things as a team? Or do you think there's any truth in that?
I do. No, I mean, I truly believe that. I know if we were in any bad situations in the past, we had people like Morgan and stuff that were true leaders that basically just maybe pulled a group together, small groups or stuff like that. Again, I read an article, I think the last time anybody at Middlesbrough did it was Grant again. I think he got the players when we were under Karanka, and I think he invited them to his house. And basically, the guys, the lads need to take responsibility. That staring is in the face, and until they do, we're actually kidding ourselves. Because once it's the old saying, once you cross over the white line, Neil can't do anything for them. I mean, Leo with all his fist pumping and like brilliant build on punching his chest and all that, that still doesn't make any difference if you don't have the fight within yourself to go and try and win some points.
Yeah.
And collectively, it needs to be collectively. Yeah. Individually should be a problem because every individual should want to go out and bust his ass.
Yeah.
But collectively might be the issue. I don't know.
I mean, in your first season, Gary, when you played for the Boro, you made your debut 82-83 season. And that season was very much like this one. If I remember rightly, we were struggling. You went to the last game at Chelsea that year, didn't you, to stay up? Now, as a young lad in that team, how did you deal with that situation, being in a relegation battle just as you're starting your career out?
They were the darkest days ever. I mean, that I remember for Middlesbrough anyway. And for me, it was really, I mean, I felt for the older pros. Like at that time, we had Irvin Natras and like Donald Reardon's, rest of his soul, Mick Baxter, the one my favourite Middlesbrough player of all time, Heine Otto, and people like that. I was more concerned for them as a 16-year-old kid because I was 16. I mean, some of them had kids the same age as me. And I was like, I'm going to be okay. I'll be fine because I'm now in the professional world. And if I keep working hard, I'll stay in the game for a while. But that 83 season and 84 season, he just didn't want to be there. He didn't. It was horrible. And so it was like the dark clouds come over Teesside, and it was just a bad time. It was dark days, really, in the Middlesbrough area completely. And I think the job situation was bad. The team was crap. But I will say this, even back then, though, when you kind of looked around that dressing room, there wasn't one single player you could possibly say he doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit about the club. I mean, everybody wanted to fight. At least if they were moving on or were going to get sold or given away or transferred, everybody was trying to like impress wherever they were going or just doing the right thing. And I think that's what it's coming down to, is doing the right thing at the right time.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. I mean, Tony, I'll bring you in on this. Peter McDermott, thanks for watching, Mac. He's just said there, Nammy's day, players mixed with the fans. They got told in no uncertain terms by the fans when they walked the streets what they thought of them. Now they live in the mansions miles away. They have no contact and only go to the ground to play. And I'm sure Annie will agree with me. He said, you won't find a somber longer in the centenary. Well, I definitely don't think you'll see Britain there. But is there any mileage in that, Tony, that the players don't mix with the fans anymore, do they? So that's something to take away from the game.
They're so distant and away from the fans now, James, Gary. And like you say, I when I was a kid, 14, 15, and I'd go sit round the corner in the Grangetown British Legion with Alan Foggen, the stars of them days, you know what I mean? They'd be in there every week. Terry Cochran, you know, they'd be in there, you know, bonding or whatever it is that we're doing. And but now, doing this, like you say, doing this Boro Fan TV, having the privilege of doing this over the last few years, when we used to get to the ground early, get there with the players, you know, watch the players going in, and the home games, they walk down the line, they sign the autographs, but that's the only contact some of these people are getting with the players. And your die-hard fans who are going to tell them what to think of them, there's no chicken run at the Riverside, you know what I mean? So they turn the back, they can't hear what you're shouting at them, and they're just they're not allowed to take any criticism. They're taken away from all that. I know they all have Twitter and Facebook accounts, but they don't get no direct face-to-face criticism.
Believe me, and I think they've all got their social media, but I think they're all kind of, they don't answer on it. They're like, everybody is a human being. It's a natural human being reaction to know what people are saying about you. So I don't care if people say they don't, because they do. I mean, that would just be, they'd be just from not this planet if they thought they didn't care what people thought about them. But I do honestly believe that the days of us in the centenary and stuff like that, I think they're gone, guys. I mean, you won't see players anywhere. The only time you'll ever see that is when, and it's sad as this may come across, is when they actually do well and win things. Then you might see them out in a promotion party at the pub, and I know they've gone to the Dickens and all that stuff before, but you're not going to see that until that happens again. I mean, you're not going to think they're going to be in the local pub if we get relegated, are you? But I think back when you think back, so then days are done. They're done and they're gone. They're not coming back. But it still doesn't mean that players can't accept some criticism from the paying customer, because if they were in any other line of business, that's what happens. You know what I mean? And so I think they basically shy away from it. And people, again, another human reaction is we don't like to get told when we don't do well either. So it's one of them things. Is are they spoiled a little bit this day and age as a professional player? Of course they are. I mean, they get so much more than anybody else did before. Maybe that should make them stand up a little bit more and then be counted as well then. But each person's different. I was very comfortable. I mean, think about just myself and Tony Mowbray. I was far more comfortable going into a local pub than Tony was. I mean, you wouldn't see Tony in like local pubs and stuff. But you would me, because I was just comfortable in that kind of side of things. But I think it's a hard thing now that that's what I'm saying. But I see football players, not Middlesbrough players particularly, but I see football players walking past kids and not signing things and stuff. And to this day and age, with the headphones on to drown out the kids, to drown out the fans, that's what the headphones are on for. They don't want to listen to people, and that's awful. I mean, I think that is really, really sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair point. I mean, just talking about the manager, Gary, I think in your second season at the club, Jack Charlton came in towards the end of the season in like a caretaker type role. As a player again in that situation, do you like sort of think, oh, is he going to be sticking around, or do you just like focus on game to game?
No, we kind of knew when Jack came in. I think Jack was already pissed off that we took him away from his fishing trip. So he was. So he wasn't happy at all about that. You could tell, and he blatantly didn't. I mean, he just basically told us, "You just get your finger out because I don't want to be here too much longer. I want to go back down to the river and fish for salmon or something like that." So he was not going to be around long. We kind of knew that. And it was out of sheer respect for Jack for what he'd done for the club prior to all of us being there as well. So, I mean, I wasn't a massive fan of his coaching philosophy. I really wasn't at all. But I was a kid and I just shut up and just done what I was told. So, again, I had that thing of, even though we were in the doldrums and it was not a good time and dark days again, that was, I thought, personally, individually, just myself, I was going to be okay as long as I kept working hard. If Middlesbrough was going to struggle, I'll move on or something like that. But again, everybody, the cause, just wanted they wanted to fight for the club. But you just wouldn't have done it back in the day. And that's the other thing I would say about the players today. I don't know if they're as ruthless as we were with each other when we played, because if somebody wasn't pulling the weight, we didn't do what Maurice and Son done last night and have a fight on the pitch, because that's just childish. It's a bit stupid, really. But in the dressing room, sometimes you wouldn't have wanted to be around that dressing room. I mean, you didn't need Bruce to be slapping somebody, because people, that I don't think's done. I don't think things like that. Then I watched Everton game last night, and I think it was, what's his name? It came from Swansea. Sigurdsson. Oh my God. I mean, the tackles he was pulling out last night, it's just like, get off the field. And I love Gary Neville. Gary Neville, I would really love Gary Neville to say what he really wants to say, because he ripped that guy apart. And for a professional soccer player last night, I don't care if his fans there or not, wow, he was a disgrace. And I think he'd have got away with that last night. Not another pro would have said a thing to him in that dressing room. That shouldn't happen. I mean, you don't have to fight over it, but if you're out there busting your backside and somebody like him, if you're out there busting your backside and somebody like him's just strolling around like a ponce, I mean that would have caused fights nowadays. I mean, like fights.
Yeah. He was blatant with it last night, Sigurdsson, and like you say, I like Gary Neville as a pundit, and he was giving him a big time. Like you're on about Needle in the dressing room, but I think there is. I don't know the lads personally, but I'm getting the impression there's a bit of a needle between Marvin Johnson and George Friend, and I have a feeling that that's spilling over onto the pitch as well. Do you know what I mean? I don't think there's much love lost between them two at the moment. Now, like you say, I don't know either of them from Adam. It's just the impression that I'm getting when I'm seeing them on the pitch together. I don't know whether you two will feel the same.
No, I mean, that's up to the manager. So, well, firstly, it's up to the two grown men to sort that out. If that's actually happening and going on, because it shouldn't spill over to the team and what the team are trying to focus on and trying to do. And then the manager, because the manager should be the first one, or one of his staff members, the first people to pick up on that. And that should be nipped in the bud, like, instantly. Yeah. Instantly. No, I mean, hey, to ask them all to be best friends is just stupid. That's not going to happen either. Yeah. But to work together and be united together for, come on, guys, for 2 hours. I mean, I think we can do that. Yeah. So we can, because you don't even have to be best mates in training.
Yeah. No. I just think there's a lot of frustration there at the minute. I think we're very frustrated as fans, but I think the players themselves, I think everybody knew it was going to be a difficult season, but I don't think anybody envisaged it being as bad as this. And I think the players are obviously getting really frustrated themselves, because at the end of the day, as pros, they won't enjoy getting beat every week and getting called out by the fans and stuff like this. They don't go into it for that either. So I think there's a lot of that in it, Tony. I mean, last week I found something interesting, which Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank said at during the Hull City game, where he said he was surprised at Jonathan Woodgate, going back to him, his appointment of Robbie Keane as his number 2. Do you think there was any mileage in that, Tony?
I think he was just a job for his mate. I think it was just a job for his mate. Same as I just think. I think Leo came back out of sentiment. Robbie Keane, he wasn't that keen to take the job straight away. You know what I mean? He wanted to sit on it and think on it, and that was a really disappointing appointment. When he could have even asked their Stewie to come in. Don't go to Blackburn, stay here, be my number 2. Keane was a disaster as an appointment as a number 2 for me, and just to read.
It's a strange one, though, isn't it? It's a strange one, Ian, isn't it? Because, like you say, is it a pal, like add-on and a pal at his staff and stuff? Because he just finished his career over here. Well, I'm in Scotland right now, but live in America. But in the MLS, had a great career. He's not right. I know he coached in the Ireland team as an assistant and stuff. But when you're bringing somebody in and who has a reputation of a very, very good goal scorer throughout his career, and then I'm just looking at the goals for 40. I mean, what was he really doing then? Now, I mean, that tally should be obviously not doubled, but we should be up in the 60s at least, somewhere along the line. Yeah, I'm not punting for my mate or anything here, but hey, you've got him right there in Middlesbrough. Just bring Bernie in for a couple of months.
Bernie. Yeah.
I know it sounds crazy. He loves the football club and everything. So I know there's not a great relationship, all like internally with certain people and stuff. But I'm sorry. I mean, if you're looking for somebody for goal scoring and stuff, I didn't understand the appointment at all. I really didn't. I thought it was a very, very strange one. And I still think it's strange to this day. Because like you said, Robbie didn't run to us. We were kind of chasing him. And I don't think Robbie's hurting in any capacity financially. So I mean, good luck to him. So, but I thought it was very strange.
When you read Woodgate's statement on Instagram or Twitter, wherever it was, about getting the sack, how disappointed he was, and you could feel the lad's pain. And then you read Robbie Keane's statement, and basically Robbie Keane's statement said everything about his attitude when he was at the Boro. It was about a paragraph long, and it thanks for having me, really. But it said so much. That short statement said so much about his time at the Boro, and like you say, he was Ireland's coach, and like you say, we pestered him to come here.
I felt so bad. I felt so bad for Jonathan. Yeah, I felt so bad for Jonathan. I really did. It's like I mean, I think even deep down, maybe Jonathan wasn't expecting a job either. But when Tony was getting asked to leave, and obviously when Jonathan was the only one kept on the books from the whole staff that get shifted out, it was evident that that's the direction Steve wanted to go in. But I think like a lot of people have thought, if that was the direction and we wanted the local lad to do well, and which we all did, because when you hear him speak, he speaks from his heart, and he really does.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, during that lockdown, I know it's easy to say now and stuff. I think it would have been brilliant if we could have brought in Neil Warnock in March, even though nothing was going on. But just for them to be doing, even if they were doing Zoom things and stuff, how much further Jonathan would have been along, instead of then coming out of the lockdown and here you go, son, you're right in the dog heat of the relegation fights. Get on with it and save us. And that's just too much pressure for a young manager. It really is. He's already got pros behind him that are only a couple of years younger than him. And so it becomes a big, not a mental thing, but it's a respect as well. And I think the players respected him, but they probably respected him as a pal other than a boss. And I think there's a massive difference for who you go and play for. Now, if I go play for my pal, that's like a kicker in the park.
Yeah,
I go play for my boss. It means business.
Yeah. I mean, Gary, there's been a lot of, after the game at the weekend, the defeat at QPR, understandably the fans have had a bit of a go at the players, but I think it's growing ever more evident now that a lot of fans are starting to question Steve Gibson and what he's doing at the club and some of his decision making. And Ian Simpson, thanks for watching, Ian. He's just said there, what about the top of the tree? What's your thoughts? Can't possibly bring down Gibson, but money is a big issue. I mean, you've spoke earlier on the show about Gibbo, haven't you?
It is. It's just massive. I mean, I've known, like this. Let's just put it in perspective. I've known Steve since 1986. No, I mean, when he came on that first board to save the club with ICI and stuff. So I don't think anybody could say he lacks integrity of being a man of Middlesbrough and wanting the town to do well and the team to do well, because he's taken them from one place to another place. You just look at the stadium and what he's built and stuff like that. But I think a lot of times a lot of people don't know what's going on in people's personal lives and personal worlds. I think there's been massive mistakes made, but that's big businesses for you. And I mean, my God, just look at Liverpool. I mean, I know they've just won the title, but it's taken them 30 years to win it. And look at how much money they've actually spent in that 30-year window. I don't even think. I don't even want to read up on that. Maybe Steve right now is all about stabilising the club and financially not having to go into his pocket every week, every month, every fortnight, which I think he does personally. If that's the case, a lot of people like to sell on. I mean, do we really want a foreign owner? I don't know. I mean, I don't really know the answer, but it's evident that we haven't bought well. We have not done very well in the transfer market. I think we've been very poor in there. And I'm not talking about this season. I'm on about for the last good 7-8 years. I don't think we've really done well at all in that market. That's not a business I really know, because I just work with elite youth kids. But what are we doing there as well? Because I remember just over a decade ago, 15 years ago, my son came back to Middlesbrough from America, and my God, our academy was probably one of the best in the UK. Yeah. I think we've got the pictures up at the academy. I think it's like there's 70 million pounds up on that wall. Yeah. Where's all not the money? Where's the money gone? Where has the conveyor belt of the talent gone? Yeah, because they were all local. They were all local kids. So it's like, I don't understand it. So it's the people who are maybe involved in that department as well. They're not to blame for the first team's results, by the way. They're not. Because again, I'll reiterate this, that goes back on the players. That's the players' shoulders. But you've always got to have some kind of a conveyor belt of what's coming through.
Yeah. Like how the clubs run, my experience in my working life, that the man up the top, he doesn't like to be bothered that much, and he has all his lieutenants and his sergeants underneath him. In my line of work, the man at the top, he doesn't want to be bothered. And I think we've struggled, and it pains me to say, Gibbo's never had a proper right-hand man or anyone underneath him since Keith Lamb left. We had great success when Keith Lamb was at our club. Whatever he was doing or whatever he wasn't doing, he made sure everything ran right for Gibson. And how I'm looking at, Gibbo has the final say on everything. He goes to every game. He sits up there in the gods watching the same crap we're watching. But the recruitment,
it must be hurting him, Ian. I mean, it has to be. And I mean, so when people say he doesn't care about it, I kind of take offense to that, because I just don't see that at all. He's not a man like that. Again, we don't know what's going on in his own business world. No. I mean, is that success right now or whatever?
Greg Uchi-Uch is asking the same question as I'm going to ask. Is it what you call again, Bevington and Bowser?
Neil Bowser.
And Craig's asking what was his history. I think he used to work down ICI. I think what I'm led to believe, he worked on ICI, Bowser. He was a supervisor or somewhat down there. I think that's his football history, listening to the lads in the cabin. But aren't these people, is Bowser responsible for these people coming in? Is it Bowser that's responsible for going to Gibson and saying, right, yeah, let's give Jonathan Woodgate a chance. I've interviewed him 3 times.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think you hit the nail on the head, Ian, because he came in and took over the thing's job.
Keith Lamb,
Keith Lamb's job. And Keith was there a long time. When I resigned, Keith was the one I was signing my papers in front of. And Keith didn't have a great football background either, if I remember correctly. I don't think he did. I think he had a very good business background, though. and Keith wasn't really well liked by a lot of the players. But his job wasn't to be liked. I mean, that's just sometimes you've just got to get on with things. And his job wasn't. His job was to make Middlesbrough Football Club a big club. And Keith Lamb did it. I mean, he did that with whatever way or whatever his method was. If you think back in the mid-90s and all that stuff, it was, I mean, Middlesbrough were flying. I mean, signing Brazilians and signing Ravanellis and all kinds of stuff. We'd have never got them people. With the right people went in place to get them. That stopped. I mean, obviously, Keith sadly got a little sick and all that stuff, and he had to get out of the game. I don't know much about Neil. Again, he's in a position at the club that's probably a very, very highly paid position. So, I mean, you would hope and pray every day he's trying to make the football club better, and I would hope that's the case. I've met Neil a couple of times. He seems a nice guy. I just don't know his football background. I really don't. Do you really need a football person in the business world that he has to know every player in the league and stuff? Now, that if he doesn't know every player in the league and who's available and how much it's going to cost us, then we better hire somebody that knows every bit of that information.
Yeah. I've been shouting for like you say, a couple of Peter Kenyon's at nearly every home game, and you see Peter Kenyon walking into Riverside, and you think, well, why is he still coming? You know what I mean? And the last thing I want as a fan, and I can understand the fans' frustrations, but Steve Gibson has to be held accountable for some of the recent decisions that he's made. But Middlesbrough Football Club will go 6 foot under if Gibbo leaves our club, and our fans hound him out. If he sells the club on, we'll be in a similar situation to what Wigan are in now. You know what I mean? We'll get sold down the river because you can't get players to come to Teesside. How are you going to get millionaires, billionaires to come to our club to run it? So, people just need to see which.
Unless I think there's something in it for them, Tony.
Pardon, James?
Unless I think there's something in it for them, Tony. They won't have the club's best interest at heart, I don't think.
No. They won't be putting their hand in the pocket every week like Gibbo does. You know what I mean? So
they won't, and I think people kind of are very quick to kind of forget that. I understand the frustration, I really do, but
it does have to take some of the.
Yeah, I think if we were at the hands of a foreign owner right now, I just think how many times we would have probably been sold on. No, I mean, I think we would have been sold time after time, so they get their money and run again and don't lose too much. We've never heard once in over 35 years or whatever how much he's actually lost, and I don't think he wants to even tell people that anyway, because I think we'd all get a gasp of how much money it actually is. So until it comes out and what Steve wants to do, you'll always have my full backing, which, I mean, obviously doesn't go anywhere anyway, but I think the guy's been an absolute godsend for the club. But again, I can understand the feelings. And the last person who wants to go to Division 1, believe me, for a business side of things, is Steve Gibson.
Yeah.
Like you say, a lot of people from my generation, James, yourself, he did save our club. He put the yards in to get that consortium together. You know what I mean? So, but like you say, he's made mistakes.
Yeah.
For a long time, but he's still got in his heart. It's still his main interest. You know what I mean?
It really
is.
And
whatever You hear people talking about what he's doing with his money. You know, he's building a big house in Ripon or Thirsk, wherever it is. That's his business. That's not our business. It's got absolutely nothing to do with us. What he's doing with his own money. He's keeping our club afloat, and he's giving us something to go watch on a Saturday, whether we like it or not.
I think I'm way behind the times, but I refuse to watch Sunderland till I die. So, if there's any Sunderland fans on here, you would know the reason why I wouldn't watch the show, because I was waiting for you to actually die. But my father actually told me watch the show, and I think I'm in show 6 or something like that. Show's so like interesting.
Yeah,
it really is, and it brings back so many days for about 86 for me, and just the line of business. Look at the kid Rodwell. I mean, I had to laugh when the Scottish, the Glaswegian guy thought that Rodwell was going to say, "Oh yeah, rip my contract up that I'm on 70,000 a week just because I love you." No, that's just that doesn't happen in the world today.
Yeah.
No, I mean, even though he might be a little shit and stuff like that, but the kid's still got to look after himself. That's not the kid's fault that he got the money. That's someone's fault that they give him the money.
Yeah,
bad business. And I hope we don't go down that path. That's all. Because if you look at their owner, he basically, I don't know if it's the same guy. Don't tell me the rest of the show, by the way. But he just basically stopped funding the club by this whatever show I'm on the 6th or 7th one. He just basically said no more money.
Yeah,
I don't think you'd ever get doing that.
Oh, it gets worse, Tony. Gary, believe you me, it gets worse, mate. But just moving away from the business side and the chairman and things like that, bringing it back to the manager, Neil Warnock said after the day after the QPR game on Monday, he was saying that he now has to shield the players from the pressure that's building up. In your experience, did that happen when you were down there in relegation battles? Was Bruce, Willie Madron, were they shielding you players from the pressure that you were feeling being in a relegation battle?
Well, Bruce, we were never really in one with. Willie, we were. Malcolm, we were. Bobby, we were. But they, I think they try and take as much heat off you as they can get. But again, remember, guys, we're talking like 3 decades ago. The press weren't as ruthless as they are now. I mean, we didn't have any social media hammering us every second. They didn't have Twitter, thank God. They didn't have Twitter. Thank God. I'd have been found I was in the Centurion most nights, like within 10 minutes. But and that's, again, that goes back to what we were saying about the players earlier, and they can't go anywhere. I mean, so that's probably why it looks like they're not bothered and can't be bothered. They probably guys want to go out and have a pint, even with the normal mates outside the game. I was fortunate I was allowed to do that, and we had the times to do that. But in what they're getting paid as athletes, they could want the manager to shield them all they want, but it's them. They've just got to stand up and be counted right now. Yeah. They really do, and I think like all of us, we're all waiting and hoping, with our fingers crossed, thinking, all right, it's going to come. It's going to just gel together, and it's all going to fall in place and stuff like that. But shit, we've been saying that since last August, and we're now in the lockdown phase of coming back into play football, and there's no crowd and stuff like that. They're probably lucky there is no crowd. I'll say that.
Gary, Gary, as a player, and you're going through something like what our lads are going through now, is it just a case sometimes of waiting for something to happen like that? Like, you know, a fantastic free kick, a fantastic tackle, is it just something like that kick starts it?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I know it sounds stupid and stuff, but I mean, it could be something as simple as that, just a lucky break. The goal last night, the Everton's got their own goal, something like that happens, and Tottenham got 3 points out of that game last night. That was ridiculous. But hey, but that's how good teams scrape and win games as well, though, because there's an old saying as well as like, you have to make or try your hardest to make your own luck, because we can't bank on anybody. James, we were talking before you come on. I hate this that we're relying on Wigan. Why are we relying on Wigan? What if we're in the bottom two? The Wigan get out of jail card goes out the window, and don't tell me Barnsley and Luton are not wanting the Wigan get out of jail card. So I just don't understand that this Wigan. So all I read is we'll be all right because Wigan are going down. No, not at all. Let's not do that.
Well, as the results stand at the minute tonight, there's games going on now. Luton are beating Barnsley 1-0, and Luton have got a kind of run in than us, if I'm being honest. So they'll be a point behind us. I think they've taken 7 points from the last 4 games, something like that.
Yeah.
Stephen
and that's the teams that, they're the teams that are flying. Look at Wigan. Poor Wigan. They've been on a run of like 7, 8 games. They didn't concede a goal for 7 or 8 games. So this is going to happen to them.
Stephen's asking the $1 million question there. Honest opinion, lads, do you think we'll stay up? My head's telling me one thing, and my heart's telling me another at the minute. But
my head and my heart going on what I'm watching and what I'm seeing and what you're hearing. I sadly, and I hate to say this because I don't want to. People can say what they want about me. You just asked me opinion, just on current stuff today. I would say no. I don't know. I don't know. 5 games is definitely enough, but it's got so tight down there. I think after the Stoke game, I was so excited after the Stoke game. I thought, oh, let's push on. Let's just get another 2 wins and get out of here. Get up to the 50-point mark, like Neil's saying. And it might even be more than 50 points people might need this year. Who knows? And no, just didn't happen. It was like the balloon got completely deflated again. And it's like we're back to kind of square one. And I don't know how we went like that, because I just thought the Stoke result was like we were just saying, Ian, that's what I thought we needed. I was like, let's rock on here. But I think my head says no, James.
Right. Okay.
And I hope, I hope I'm completely wrong, by the way.
So do I, mate.
I think if we'd have got out of that old game, with a point, you know what I mean, I'd have felt, you know what I mean, I think they'd have had a bit more to take into the QPR game, because 2 daft goals against Hull, you know what I mean?
Don't think it's not on their mind either, no, I mean, and it has to be. I mean, it's got to be on their mind. Now the pressure is actually really on the players, but hey, who brought the pressure on? That's what it's coming to, accepting responsibilities and stuff like that. And I reading all this stuff about dropping down, and maybe this is what we need, is to drop down to give us a kick in the arse and stuff like that. No, we don't. We've been there, and we were very fortunate that we get out of it first time. Yeah, incredibly fortunate. Yeah, and we deserve to get out of it. No, because I don't know if you could go down there and play your way out of it now. I don't know. I don't watch like League One at all. So, but I do know it's a very tough division.
Yeah. You might know this bloke, Gary, Mike Hutchinson, who's just said there, do you think Gibson should be more agreeable to accepting financial help instead of appearing to insist on being the only one financing the club? Because there has been rumours in the past of local men wanting to get involved. Do you think Steve would be open to that, or do you think he wants to keep control of the club?
I personally think, tell your dad hello anyway. Oh. I don't know. I mean, I know Steve well, but I don't know Steve Gibson, the businessman. So I would think because of where he's come and what he's done and where he's come from with the club, I would probably say he would probably, because he can financially, probably just wants to keep control of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, until the day comes where he just, because he'll know the day, because his pockets, I mean, only everybody, he only knows how deep they are. And I think that deal will be decided by Steve himself. But as of right now, if he doesn't feel that he needs a financial backing and help, then maybe he just doesn't need it. I think it'd be a great thing actually to put more people from, especially if it's local businessmen. I think that'd be really. But I'm not Steve Gibson that has a big business sat behind me. So I don't know how I would make that decision. But I think it all comes down to a big trust thing as well. Barnsley just scored again.
That's good news. Yeah, I think that'd be good for us if that ends a draw tonight. That would be great.
Well, I thought Barnsley. Okay, we couldn't ask for more than that.
No.
Ian, there goes the thing that we might need. Is that one thing there? Is that to be a draw?
There's the 3 of us that are already doing what we shouldn't be doing, looking at other teams' results.
Yeah.
I'm only looking at it because I can say this now because I'm an ex-player. I'm only looking at it for my coupon. That's all I'm looking at it for.
I'm sure you put no bets on years ago, Gary. I know you didn't. When you were getting all them.
I did. No, I did. Oh no, I did put a few bets on. No, I don't you worry about that. As long as I don't get pulled up. The good thing is Stuart Ripley does all them cases, so I think I might get away with it now because Stuart's the lawyer for it all. So I'll be all right. No, I used to. If you remember, I took all the corners and free kicks. I used to like put a little bet on Morgan to score the first goal. I used to scream to Pally to get the hell out of the way. Pally, you're not on my bet. Move.
Just going back
on the half.
Just going back, Gary, there, we've mentioned about Wigan. Obviously, you were part of the team in '86 that had the financial problems and everything that went on. I know that happened before the season started, but how will you think those Wigan players be feeling at the minute from having won 4 games on the spin, on a great run of form, and then something like that just appear from the blue last week? That must affect their changing room, mustn't it?
Oh, big time. Big time. I mean, they've got to come from like the joyous, I mean, on a roll, got out of jail, but done it the right way by performing on the field. I mean, all credit to them. I think it's very harsh, but I think there's some things going on. Isn't there an investigation? Because it all sounds really kind of dodgy. Some guy bought them to put a bet on. That's kind of serious. So it is. And you know what? If they stayed up and it was at the fault of us having to go down, I would have to say well done, because they'd done it on the football park. It wasn't off. They did it on the field. And if they do stay out of liquidation and stuff like that, then congratulations to them, because I think they deserve it. I really do.
Yeah. And Tony, we shouldn't be relying on Wigan, like Gary said there. We shouldn't be relying on the fact that a team's getting 12 points deducted off them to try and finish above them, should we?
No. Like we said, we were expecting an average season. We weren't expecting Woodgate to be tearing up no trees or pushing on for playoffs. You know what I mean? We spoke in the early shows, James, about we'd have been happy with mid-table, and so we have threw points away even this season. You can go back to the first game of the season where Assombalonga missed a penalty, cost us 2 points. You know what I mean? And it's at the end of the day, it's not Wigan who's got us into the bottom 3. It's our coaching staff and our players, and it's up to them. They've got 5 games to get us, to get us out of it. But to be relying on Wigan, and to be looking at Barnsley and Luton, who have been absolutely dreadful till after lockdown, and we just haven't improved after lockdown. It's our fault. It's the players' fault. You know what I mean? So
if it's
not the players' fault, it's the way they're getting coached, and it's what they're being asked to do. You know what I mean? Because, like you say, Gary, they go over that white line, and it's up to them. But
I told Ian earlier. I told Ian earlier, James, that I actually writing down and I looked at some stats and stuff. I mean, 14 draws.
Yeah.
And you just take 3 of them. Now, I can't remember the 14 draws. I remember a few of them, but I can't remember all 4. I know there's games there that we should have probably blatantly won.
We drew 3-3 with Luton. We were winning comfortable. We drew 2.
You take 3 of them games. You take 3 of them games, and we're fine. And
there's another 6
points. That's that part of luck. That's that part of luck where you've got to make it yourself. You shouldn't be losing them games when you're comfortable beating Luton and stuff like that. We shouldn't. So if it does happen, and hopefully it doesn't again, and my fingers are crossed on that, it's really, we can only look at ourselves. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I seen 14 draws. I really couldn't.
Yeah,
I was like lost with that. So was it, and then the 17 losses. I think there's only 8 teams above us have more losses than us in that. So the record itself, it's the goals. It's obviously the goals fall. I mean, that's where I think the big dilemma. That's where the big dilemma and issue is kind of killing us, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
Can I just say one thing on Warnock? Can I say one thing on Warnock, James? Gary.
Yeah.
If Woodgate had picked that team on Sunday against QPR, it'd have been slung off the transporter. What was his train of thought there with that team that he picked on Sunday? Why the managers still keep trying to belt square pegs into round holes, Gary?
I don't know. I think they get their own philosophy, and that's it. They stick with it. And I mean, Neil's been around the game for such a long period of time. I don't know if that was in his management plan where they make them wholesale changes, because how many changes did he make to the game? It was a few, wasn't it?
French kid playing, when he had the French kid playing holding midfielder, and it was so frustrating. And when he left Coulson and Tavernier on the bench till the 81st, 82nd
I mean,
minute,
it may be down to Ian as well, because you see it. I mean, my dad, we sit here and moan. We're like the two old guys out of the Muppet Show that's on the balcony. Me and my dad be like Waldorf and Stratoff moaning about everything and about these water breaks in the EPL. And my dad's like, "What the hell is this? What's wrong with him?" And he's right. And I mean, I know they're saying this part it blows my mind. No, I mean that. I know we're having to rest them and stuff. As a player, you shouldn't want to be rested unless you're actually dying.
No.
I don't care if I played in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or 2000s. You want to be playing.
Yeah.
And I think that's an easy fix, because you make it hard for the manager to even consider putting you back on the bench or even giving you a rest. I mean, I know the squads are big enough to have a rest, but come on, you should want to play. Yeah. You should really want to play. And now you see the real characters. The real characters are the ones who want to play tomorrow.
Yeah.
That would be the real characters for me.
Yeah. Well, onto that, Gary. Obviously, it's Millwall tomorrow. You must have had some pretty tasty midfield battles when you came up against Millwall. You'll have been playing against the likes of Terry Erlock, Les Briley. Quite a reputation Millwall has always had. What was it like as a player going to the old Den and playing Millwall?
Well, the funny, well, it wasn't even funny. It was actually scary, because anytime you went to play Millwall away, it's like, because any normal ground had fans maybe of the 18-year-old through the 28-year-old. I mean, Millwall were men. I mean, the fans were just men. They were in the 30s and 40s, and they wanted to kill you when you were coming out the tunnel and stuff like that. It was a scary place to go. Yeah. It really was. So, I had a few ding dong battles there. I remember the one at Ayrsham. I think I was in Division 1 with Herlock and the other lad in midfield. Was it Briley or whatever?
Les Briley, yeah.
I can't remember, boy, because I remember the batter the hell out of the two of them. So, I think me and Dino kicked them all over the place. But Teddy, it's funny, because I read articles about people who were hard and all this stuff, and I don't really class myself as a hard player. I just felt as I was committed. I think there's a big difference. I was committed and I wanted to win. That I mean, if that came down as if it was hard, then so be it. Teddy Hurley was the same. Teddy Hurley never ran around and kicked people. That was somebody like Dennis Wise. Dennis Wise did that, but he always kicked you from behind. Steve McManaman did that, kicked you from behind. The hardest player around that I ever played was Jimmy Case. And I remember I tried to hit him once when he was finishing his days at Southampton, and I absolutely crunched him. And I fell over. I mean, I basically just fell over. And I think I said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Case." And he picked me up. So, no, I mean, that whole hard thing's a dying breed, because I don't think you get away with it anymore. But, they went. Terry Hurley was just a very, very good, honest, hard-working, committed player. And so were most of them in that day. We just got away with a little bit more. And I mean, now player slaps something in the back of the head or calls them a name. It's all caught on camera and it's done and dusted. But them days, it was good because it was clean. It wasn't like, I mean, it was a nasty tackle, but really nasty. You didn't go after him like then. You would wait. Sometimes you'd even wait a whole season. I mean, you're going to get them back straight away. Now everybody wants to hit each other with their handbags and all that kind of stuff. So I don't understand that sometimes. But yeah, the Millwall games, I remember that one at Ayrsham Park. That was a great game. It was because Millwall at the time as well in Division 1 were flying. They were really flying. I think Teddy was up front with Cascarino. They actually had a really good team.
They did.
So they did. They had a very good team. And even though there were a bunch of bruisers, they were actually, like, they played the game the right way. They were a decent team. They were good games against Millwall.
Yeah. So, Tony, do you think we've got the toughness to go there? I know there's no crowd or anything there at Millwall tomorrow, but do you think we've got the toughness and the character in our side to get something out of that game tomorrow?
Oh, normally, this time of the season, Millwall are starting to drift and, drop down the league. But they're climbing the league. They're pushing for the playoffs. And after what we experienced on Sunday, there's going to be a massive turnaround. And I don't know what his team selection is going to be, but he's got to get someone in there with a bit of fight. And I didn't think it was Adam Clayton that we were bringing back in for a bit of fight, you know what I mean? But if that's his only option, you know, because he seems like to be a person who will give someone a kick up the arse, you know what I mean? But
and I was surprised about that, because just following up what you're saying there, I actually thought Adam would be that lad as well. I really did. And
yeah,
it's a shame in a way. It looks like Adam's face is maybe not fitted in right now, because I don't think he's started right now, as he's been on the bench most of the games.
Yeah.
And I actually thought Adam would be the lad to do it, and especially what he's just gone through as well with his father. I mean, he'd be the first one I'd be looking at saying, he'd go, "You want some frustration, son? Get yourself out there and take it out on someone else." I would, honestly. That would be me. It takes different ways to fire people up and stuff. But anytime I've been around him and seen him and spoke to him, he's always come across to me as when the no leader part came out, I thought, and the first person I thought about was Adam. And I thought, well, that's kind of, maybe he's not what I thought, but he'd be one I would be looking at, especially right now, because I think that kid's got a bit of fight in him. I really do.
Yeah.
And then at the weekend, before our show next week, we've got Bristol City at home. I don't know, you might have had one or two games against Bristol City. Do you remember the game? I think it was in the 3rd division season, Gary, because they were up near the top with us. And it got a bit of a feisty game when we played them. I think Joe Jordan was player manager for them. He got sent off. David Hodgson got sent off for us. I think he was on loan and he got sent off. And there was a few running battles in that game. Do you recall anything from any games with Bristol City?
Did I get sent off?
No, I don't think you did. I think you behaved yourself that day.
Oh, good. There you go. See, strange things do happen. Yeah, no, not really. No, I remember because I think Archie played for Bristol City, and I remember going once with Archie, and he was all excited because he was getting a chance to batter some of his old teammates and stuff like that. So that was funny to hear that. But I don't really remember many games at Bristol City. I don't. I think Bernie scored a couple down there and stuff. The ones I played in. If I played in the one with all the red cards, I can't remember it that well, but normally I do remember them games pretty well. But I don't remember too many games against Bristol City.
No worries. And again, Tony, obviously I think maybe a lot will depend on what happens tomorrow as to what frame of mind they are in for a game on Saturday. I think, in fairness, we've performed slightly better away from home than we have at home since the football's returned. But say they were to pick up a positive result tomorrow at Millwall, hopefully that would inspire them then to get something against Bristol, who have just obviously got rid of their manager as well, haven't they?
Yeah, like you say, we've been so inconsistent, James. So if we come away from Millwall with anything, I'll be still strapping myself in against Bristol City. I won't be expecting us to kick on. You know what I mean? I'll still be sat there, you know. And it's sad to say, open for the wait, but
just remember one thing, lads. Middlesbrough Football Club have always done things the hard way. We really have. I mean, oh my God, since I've been there since '81, it's never really been easy. So I still think there's still life in the old dogs yet to keep us up, and I really do. And I really truly want that to happen, even though my heart and my head are saying different things. But again, man, we have always done it the hard way. So I'm like, hey, I'm pretty hopeful that we can get something out of it. But we do need a little bit of luck, whether that means the lads going out as if they're playing the last game. And that's if that's what we need, then that's what we need.
Yeah. Well, it appears as though the results have gone for us tonight. We've had Charlton have ended up getting beat. Luton and Barnsley's finished a draw. So, to be honest, some things are going our way at the minute. We just need to take advantage of ourselves now, don't we, Tony?
Yeah. It's like you say, it's up to us. There's 15 points there up for grabs. So let's just get let's hope they can get as many as possible and just get us away from all this shit down here and move on.
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, I'll continue watching Sun until I die.
Comedy
that'll cheer me up.
Yeah.
Lads, that's time up for tonight, I'm afraid. Thanks for sharing your views, Gary, Tony. It's been great. Thanks to everybody that's been watching. Love your contributions and getting involved in the show. If you like this sort of stuff, always check out the EFL Championship banter page. They've got loads of good stuff going on between fans of different clubs. But thank you for your contribution and your passion. And obviously, I know you appreciate Gary's honesty and his passion for the club still now after all these years. Keep an eye out for Joe Scott's previews on tomorrow's game and the game against Bristol City at the weekend. And don't forget to subscribe and like Boro Fan TV. We'll be back in our usual time next Monday night, everybody, at 6 o'clock. Until then, from myself, from Tony, and from Gary Hamilton, all the best and up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Brilliant. Cheers, lads.